Now, as promised, the Tea Party candidate restoring honor to government by smearing his rival, standing by his lack of evidence for it, and then threatening to take out a reporter on camera. And not even a member of the lamestream media. It turns out the Tea Party can't even get a fair shake from Rupert Murdoch in the New York Post. New York Republican Tea Party gubernatorial candidate Carl Paladino was already in the headlines this week for his family values. Specifically, he likes families so much, he started a second family outside his own, fathering a daughter 10 years ago with a woman who was not his wife. On Tuesday, he was asked about the tone of the campaign.
The campaign is being characterized as being nasty.
It's going to get nastier.
It's getting nasty.
Yeah, Sheldon Silver and Andrew Cuomo should get ready, strap in, because this is your life, Andrew Cuomo.
Okay. If it gets nasty and stuff, as it gets nastier and stuff, is that something that some people? Okay, when you first came out,
I don't mind being nasty.
You know,
That same day, it got a lot nastier. Paladino told Politico that Cuomo, his rival in the election, has had paramours. When he was married, Paladino's campaign manager added about Cuomo, who has never been publicly accused of infidelity and whose marriage ended in divorce after reports of infidelity by his wife who is still supporting his campaign. Then last night, Fred Dicker of Murdoch's New York Post, something like the dean of Albany journalists, dared to ask Mr. Paladino for evidence. The bleeped word from Mr. Paladino you will now hear, we should note, is the F word.
Do you have any evidence of that? And if you don't, isn't that going into the gutter?
Well, a guy that's been in the gutter and spent a good part of his life in the gutter with Andrew Farkas, he should think twice about trying to characterize me.
Well, you're a lawyer. You've heard the term.
Yeah, and I'm also a lawyer, okay, that
what evidence do you have for something that most people would consider a smear?
I want to know why you sent your goons after my daughter.
I sent no one after
I want to know,
What does
Fred.
that have to do with your charge against Cuomo? Do you have the evidence or do you not?
Fred, fingers don't
I will, at the appropriate time, you're going to hear it.
He's got
Yes,
three daughters. How can you say that about him?
Oh, I have a daughter too,
Fred. You talked about her.
I have a daughter.
You brought it out.
Fred, that's it.
Stay away from me. Heck with you. What evidence do you have?
Listen, all right.
You ever hear about when did you stop beating your wife?
You send one of your
Ever hear
goons
that?
after my daughter. Send it one more time.
The guy's easy. Come on. Hey, stay away from me, man. Don't touch me.
Men go in that bathroom.
Who are you? Who the hell are you? I'm trying to ask him a question. Go ahead, ask me a question. Do you have any evidence for the charge you made?
At the appropriate time, you'll get it.
This guy's the Attorney General of the state of New York.
And you're his stalking horse, Fred Dick.
Say it, but where's
You're his stalking horse.
What's the evidence?
You're his bird dog.
You made the charge.
You send another goon to my daughter's house and he'll take you out, buddy.
You're going to take me out?
Yeah.
How are you going to do that?
Watch.
What? So what are you, threatening me? Hey.
With us tonight is Josh Marshall, the editor and founder of the news website Talking Points Memo. Josh, good to see you. Thanks for coming in. The only words I made out of that were, I got to go to the bathroom or something like that. It looked like something out of a cheap movie.
I think Goodfellas, maybe. I think there was something like that.
No, like the cheap. Somebody goes to see Goodfellas, goes home, writes a script based on what they remembered when they saw Goodfellas.
Right.
That's what it turns out.
I can see that.
How do you run a right-wing campaign? We'll go small first. How do you run a right-wing campaign in New York State when you've just royally ticked off the New York Post?
It's tough because, you know, as a Republican, certainly as a conservative Republican, you've got the candidate, the campaign manager, and the New York Post. You know, so they're going into it with you know, a big resource not with them, and yeah, threatening to rub out, kill, I don't know what it is, a New York Post, you know, they're one of their top reporters, and calling them liars. That's not good.
But what is the choice here? I mean, you got the New York Post editor-in-chief made a statement today in which he said that the claim about sending photographers, the Post did not send photographers to follow Paladino's daughter. So either the Republican Tea Party candidate or the New York Post is lying. You want to be able to say both, right? But there's no choice now.
Yeah, well, you know, I think with almost any other candidate, there might be a credibility issue on both sides. But Carl Paladino, going back 6 months or a year, I mean, he's got the, you know, the racist emails, the threats, the this. I mean, this guy came into this incident with credibility sort of at a, you know, kind of on the red line, you know, on empty. And, you know, once you're threatening to take out reporters, that doesn't give anybody a good feeling anyway. So I think this sounds like it's on him for the moment.
And this isn't the Los Angeles kind of takeout in which you go take somebody on a date. This is the other kind of, we're going to take you, you're going to have
an empty, a New York takeout.
Empty parking space. We will look at this and rightly shake our heads because we grew up in this country and we have a certain premise of what the lines are. And they may be very broad in this country between the most able and honest politician and the least. But isn't this here what Tea Partiers in their souls want to see the threat of physical violence, particularly against reporters? Isn't this the logical end from the premise of the idea that they are the fighters of pure evil in this country?
You know, there is this question, you know, which Tea Party candidate is going to lose it and beat the crap out of someone before November 2nd? Because you know, you've got a situation with the governor candidate up in Maine where something somewhat similar happened a few days ago. Yeah, I think you're right. The problem is that, especially in a state like New York, Tea Partiers make up like maybe 15% of the electorate, 10%, you know, depending on how you want to define them. And a Tea Party candidate's got to be able to make some pivot towards sanity in the general election. And so, you know, so I think that even though there's a lot of discontent in the country right now, you know, people don't want to hear the person who's going to be running the state government saying he's going to take you out. People don't feel good about that.
Governor, you're going to be sleeping with the fishies. We have the New York Post calling Paladino out for dishonesty. Thanks in large part to Talking Points memo, we know that Christine O'Donnell has been sort of serially dishonest about her academic background. We haven't even gotten to Meg Whitman yet. That's later in the program. What's going on here, though? Is it that truth does not matter in pursuit of some sort of fantasy of higher patriotism, or is it something else?
You know, I don't think truth matters a great deal in this cycle. That's pretty clear. I think, you know, you had the Republicans came out their pledge a few days ago, and basically what it says is that debt is the biggest problem facing the nation, and to solve it, we are going to increase the national debt by $4 trillion. Right. So that gives you a sense that there are bigger forces in play than the facts. But having said that, you know, I don't think Christine O'Donnell is probably going to win in Delaware, and I don't think it's looking much better for Carl Paladino. You've got this case out in California with Meg Whitman, which I think is different. I don't think people are saying that Meg Whitman's crazy. She's got herself in a kind of a tight spot here. I think that this cycle, truth is not a big factor, but it's not no factor. And you can push things a little too far, and even for 2010, maybe you get into trouble. And I think Christine O'Donnell, Carl Paladino, and I'm sure someone else over the next month is going to cross that line.
Well, we'll know where the line is, but unfortunately, we won't know till after the election. Talking Points memo editor and founder Josh Marshall, as I said, pleasure to see you. Thanks for coming in.